have a look at Act 1, Scene 4 of Macbeth. Pretty simple scene, nothing too difficult. It features Duncan and his son Malcolm. Duncan is the king, Malcolm is his heir, due to the law of primogeniture. The oldest son inherits everything. And Malcolm comes and tells Duncan that his instruction has been carried out and the Thane of Cawdor, the traitor, has been executed, and apparently he met his death with nobility and with bravery. And Duncan responds to this news by reflecting on something which is a bit worrying for a king. He talks about how difficult it is to judge a man's feelings from his outer appearance. And this is something that is worrying. Duncan is the king. He should have better judgment than this. He held the Thane of Cawdor to his bosom interest, and yet he finds it difficult to read people. So that's a weakness in his character. And of course, that theme of deception, of appearance versus reality, that's a key theme in the play. When Duncan is then presented with the great warrior Macbeth, who arrives, he greets Macbeth as a loyal and valued kinsman. Of course, we're in the audience and we're going, Duncan, this fellow wants to be king. We just seen him being told he's going to be king and he reacted in a really weird way. Be careful. But of course, when we say that Duncan can't hear us because he's a fictional character in an alternate world, so that creates a sense of tension. Our knowledge that Macbeth, again, isn't what he appears to be. And of course, Shakespeare's brilliance is to juxtapose Duncan saying about the Thane of Cawdor, the traitor fella, oh, you can never tell what somebody's really like. And then the new Thane of Cawdor comes in and Duncan says, oh, you're the man. And we go, he's like the other Thane of Cawdor. So again, it's a lovely irony there. Duncan praises Macbeth. Macbeth, of course, is humble in his response and he says, look, I was just doing my duty. I'm aware of the natural order. And I think that's important as well. That idea that Macbeth is no fool. He's not ignorant of the facts. He knows what the rules are. You serve your king, you know your place. So, of course, later on when he breaks those rules, he has no excuses. I've got the breakdown of what the natural order is there. You can read that yourself. That's explained in your introduction to the play. Hopefully you read that. We then learn that Duncan has decided to officially anoint his son, Malcolm, as the Prince of Cumberland. Now, I don't know if you're aware of this, but in England, in the British royal house now, the heir to the throne gets the title Prince of Wales. So the oldest son is, going to inherit, but then there's this official ceremony where it's legally put in place that the king has said, right, this is my nominated heir. So the current King Charles, he became the Prince of Wales in the 1960s, and then when his mother died a couple of years ago, Queen Elizabeth II died, and he became king, his son William became the Prince of Wales. So that's the title of the heir. In Scotland, it's the Prince of Cumberland. So Duncan, because he's had this kind of scrape with rebellion and with the potential for losing his crown, he decides to put in stone, put in concrete his son's right to the crown as his heir. So he decides to make Malcolm the Prince of Cumberland. And what's interesting about that is that Macbeth's comments on the appointment of Malcolm as Prince of Cumberland again suggests that his mind is working overtime and he's thinking about how he can become king. And if Malcolm is Prince of Cumberland, that presents another obstacle to him. So we know that Macbeth is ambitious. We know the witches have triggered that ambition. They haven't created the ambition, they've identified it and they've triggered it. We know that he understands the only way he can become king is by killing the king. That's why he's so startled at the news. And there are other quotes from Act 1, Scene 3, which we maybe look at next year when we're looking at the play in a bit more granular detail. But we know that Macbeth is ambitious. We know that he's violent. And then we hear that Duncan is going to go to Inverness, to Macbeth's castle. And we have this idea that Duncan is walking into a trap, that Duncan is walking into the lion's den, and he doesn't realise he is. And of course, that creates tension, great tension, for the scenes that follow. So, the important quotes, the one you learn, there's no art to find the mind's construction in the face. That's Duncan saying, talking about the Thane of Cawdor, the traitor fella who was executed. Oh God, I could never figure out whether somebody was lying. If he was a liar, I could never understand. I'll never learn how to judge somebody. And of course, that's a weakness in him as a king. And then, of course, the new Thane of Cawdor comes in, and we see that, Duncan isn't able to read him either, because we know the truth. He describes Macbeth in glowing terms: worthiest cousin, peerless kinsman, you have no equal. The word kinsman, again, confirms for us that Macbeth is not just a loyal lord, but he's actually a member of the royal family. So again, it's in his blood, and therefore he would think he has some, claim to the throne, so that's important. But the language that Duncan uses, again, is an appealing aspect of his character. He is a king who praises those who serve him, who punishes those who betray him, who rewards those who show loyalty. So there's the public praise. And then this really, really, really important quote. Now, I know you're not going to learn this in 5th year, but I just love this quote. And if you're in 6th year watching this video, I think it's, if you're thinking about kingship, and thinking about power, and thinking about Macbeth's character and his ability to lie and deceive, and his understanding of the natural order, there's no better quote than "Your Highness's part." Because Duncan says, "Oh, thank you so much for your service," and Macbeth says, "No, actually, you don't have to thank me, because my job is to serve you. Your Highness's part is to receive our duties, and our duties are to your throne and state, children and servants, which do but what they should, by doing everything safe towards your love and honour." Macbeth knows that his duty, above everything else, is to serve the king, keep him safe, because that then is serving the nation and serving God. He knows the rules, and he still breaks them. So again, when we feel sorry for Macbeth, or when we see Macbeth feeling sorry for himself later in the play, we have to remember this. He's not a fool. He's not a puppet. He's not a dupe of the witches. He knows what he's doing. He understands his duty, and he chooses to betray it. This is an aside, the end of the scene, and he hears Malcolm has been appointed as Prince of Cumberland. He says, "The Prince of Cumberland, that is a step on which I must fall down or else o'erleap." What does it mean? He's another obstacle in my way. I've got to either jump over him, in other words, eliminate him, or crush him, fall down on him. So he's thinking about his goal. His goal is the crown, and he's thinking about the obstacles placed in front of his goal, and the tension builds as Duncan announces he's going to go to Macbeth's castle. Actually, I never told you why. He's going to Macbeth's castle to have a party, a shindig, a hoolie, to celebrate their great victory. Duncan thinks things are only going to get better. We have a sense that Duncan can't see that things are about to get a whole lot worse.